What's going on, everybody? Spring is just around the corner and we have some stuff that we need to update. We need to build more garden beds. Building garden beds or raised beds doesn't have to be complicated. You can build fancy beds like the ones that I have on my back porch, or you can build simple beds like the ones I have here in the front yard. The ones I have here in the front yard weren't built with anything fancy, and I really didn't spend that much money on them. And today we're going to build another one on the other side of the fence. The tools needed aren't very elaborate. I've got a skill saw, might use this miter saw I got on Marketplace for like 30 bucks, a Sawzall, a drill, some screws, squares, and of course a pencil and a tape measure. Now all the lumber that I have on hand for this project and for the project that was done right there, I got for free. This doesn't have to be expensive. If you just network a little bit, make you some friends, you can get material for cheap or next to nothing. Now this lumber is all old sawmill lumber and it's not treated, so it needs to be treated with something. Today we're going to use some linseed oil to go ahead and treat this lumber and make it at least rot resistant. So let's get started with that first. All right, so we've got our linseed oil on. Time to let it sit and dry, and then we'll get to building. All right, so here's the end result. Still a little wet, almost there. Let's go ahead and get to measuring and cutting. No projects without their supervisor, and if you've been tuning in for any length of time, you'll realize old Care Bear here is mine. But you see, this bed and the bed on the other side were initially formed with this plastic playground edging I got for free. It's not bad, but we can make it look prettier. We initially built these garden beds with this plastic playground edging we got for free. And now that we've got some free lumber and we're all about doing stuff on a budget, being on a single income, we'll try to make this look prettier. So first things first, we got to go ahead and measure. And I want this to come out to at least 5 feet. Now that we've got our first measurement, it's time to cut the first board. So we'll make our initial mark with our pencil. Make sure the line is straight with our square. And because my miter saw blade's not big enough to cut through this in one go, we're going to use the skill saw. All right, now that we got our first board cut, we're going to use these 2x4 stakes. These stakes were already cut. They were used when we made some concrete forms, and we're just going to repurpose them. So I know that these boards here are about 8 inches, and I'm going to be making that bed stacking 2 of these boards on top of the other, so it'll be about 16 inches deep. So how do we figure all that out, how deep we want to go? Well, here's the 16-inch mark. Mark it right there, mark it right there, and I know that I have to put this stake in at least to that mark. Now before I get started, take this plastic edging off. And I know that I'm gonna want my stake right here at the edge of this post, and that'll be my first kind of square off point. Before we get started, just a piece of advice. You'll need a heavy hammer if you're gonna use 2x4s as your stakes. I'm just using these because that's what I have on hand. There's obviously, you can use 2x2s or whatever else you deem fit. I tried using a regular hammer on the other side, it didn't work, so we're gonna use the old split and maul. Now that we've got our first stake in place, we'll go ahead, get our first screw in. Now we'll go get another stake. Well, I goofed up and y'all missed the part of me setting this stake, but made sure that the board and everything was square right here. And now we're getting ready to set the screw and tie the board in. Let's go ahead and remove the rest of these while we're at it. And now that all those are up, we'll just keep repeating the process you just saw. right, so we've got our first layer of boards on, and what I'm getting ready to do next is, you see this long board behind me? I'm going to start on this end here and run it across, because what I don't want to have happen is for them to meet in the same exact spot. This side is shorter than this side, so we're gonna run the long edge here, and what that'll do is it'll just not have the weak point in the exact same spot, so it's a stability and a strengthening thing. Tight into this stake here. Well, good news, just got to cut the two short sides and fix a little bit of the bow, and we're done. So I just went ahead and measured my last long board. It's not long enough to cut it in half and have enough length to complete both sides, short sides here in one piece. So I don't want to waste any lumber, or at least waste as minimal. So I'm going to take some of my short boards and we're just going to kind of piece these together. Almost finished. We just gotta use some stakes, take this bow out, give a little bit of support, and we're done. All right, now we are almost done, I promise. But maybe you wonder, if you run across where there's a little bit of a gap here, how you deal with that. I'll show you how I do it. Sit here and I'll measure at this point here, which is about 4 3/4, to this point here, which is my shallowest point, about 1 inch. And I know that's about 38.5 inches. So what I'm going to do, we'll measure 38.5, a deep point, my shallow point. Then I'll take this straight 2x4 that will reach that length, and I'll start at my deep point, go to my shallow point, and draw out my angle. And I'll cut it off at my length. Now I'm going to use my skill saw and start ripping the board. All right, so we've got our ripped board, and it's a little bit of a tight fit, but thankfully this ground is soft, so we will see what we can't come up with. Now, how about that? Perfect fit. Big raised bed number 2 is done. Let's see how it looks. So it's not perfect. I'm not a construction guru or a construction master. There's a few more of those spots that I need to rip boards for, and we need to get dirt in here. We need to get dirt in that one there, some extra dirt. So if you're on a budget like I am, and like most of the world, you can build a beautiful raised bed in a very affordable fashion. Just go talk to some contractors, go look at scrap lumber. If you have a sawmill close by, a lot of times they'll take their odds and ends and throw those away or give them away. And that's what I've done here. Did I do a good job? You think it turned out okay? Can't tell if she's judging me or giving me some approval. So what are some things you've built raised beds out of? Comment below, let us know, and if you haven't already, subscribe and follow us for more.